So we've had some quite good news regarding Ukraine, especially from the European front and the funding that had previously been held up by Viktor Orban. Now, the reason why Orban could do this in the past was because he could rely at that moment, at that particular time, on the Polish government. But because they've had a change in government now, Orban has been completely isolated. Like, he is completely alone on this, determined and grandstanding to the extreme that he is going to stop this, like 100%. And from what we know, there were definitely talks behind the scenes saying that if Orban continues to do this, that if he doesn't tackle, again, one of the reasons he's claiming that Ukraine should not join the European Union is because of the absolute level of crazy corruption that's going on in Ukraine. But when you look at the charts and stuff that's going on in Hungary, Hungary is by far one of the most corrupt countries, in the EU. So at what point should the EU do about, the corruption that's going on in Hungary? This is why there were serious talks about, hey, maybe we need to start thinking about ditching Hungary from the EU, which would be economically disastrous for Hungary and ultimately something that Orban himself would not be, shall we say, too pleased to happen. But he relented finally, and that's at least one aid package going to Ukraine. The big problem still is the one in America. And this one in America is primarily linked, unfortunately, to Donald Trump. Trump has seemed to signal a certain, shall we say, section of the Republican Party, basically saying, do not let that bill pass. He has signaled this. He has said, do not let this pass. This will have very bad implications for Ukraine itself. And he is essentially playing with Ukraine so that he can try and get elected and maybe have a bit of leverage in his, quote, I can solve this war in 24 hours line that he normally trots out around this. But at the moment, there is still more chaos happening. It does look like that this Ukraine budget might be coming up to a vote potentially soon. We're not 100% sure. It seems as if we can get it there. That seems to be the big issue, getting it to the floor to have it be voted on. So we're going to have a look at this because it is really, really crucial, more so than ever, that this bill and this funding passes and goes to Ukraine, because this will have a big impact on the war if it can get there. It's already been delayed since about July, I think it was July or June of last year. It was meant to be voted on in October. But of course, we talked about the chaos that Republicans had and in and around that. And it looks like, well, the supposed leaders in this, McConnell and not Schumer, McConnell and Mike Johnson, that they can't even lead their own parties because of Donald Trump and his insistence, as we said, that this bill does not pass. So we're going to have a deeper look at this to see what's going on here, because this will have a very, very impact this coming year in this conflict. And it is insane that Donald Trump is playing with Ukraine to I don't know, prove some sort of point. I don't know. It's terrifying. It generally is. But remember when we've said, hey, probably Europe needs to look out for itself more often. Well, yeah, maybe we do. Massively so in this case. So, as always, before we go looking at this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And of course, as always, thank you very much to those people who do help and support the channel that way. So, let's go over to Politico covering this, with Schumer presses forward with Plan B as GOP leaders reel. So, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer plans to push ahead with a new foreign aid plan on Wednesday, putting pressure on two top Republicans on Capitol Hill, both who are now facing fresh questions about their leadership after a series of high-profile flops this week. Schumer's move comes as the Senate border security plan, negotiated over the course of months in a bid to unlock Ukraine aid and Israel, collapsed just days after it's released. According to a State Department aide briefed on this plans, Schumer will call a vote to open debate on a standalone aid bill if a procedural vote on the border plan fails is expected on Wednesday. This move again threatens to expose the divide within the GOP between the traditionalist defensive hawks who firmly support Ukraine aid and the more isolationist wing aligned with former President Donald Trump. Caught in the middle of all this is Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who are both reeling from embarrassing setbacks. House Republicans on Tuesday failed to muster the other necessary votes for the impeachment of Homeland Security Algelco Mayorkas, or a $17.6 billion aid package for Israel, once again putting the spotlight on Johnson's inability to shepherd his very slim majority. Meanwhile, the border deals collapsed in the Senate has McConnell's critics and privately even some of his allies now casting doubt on the veterans leader's once formidable ability to be able to drive conference. So what really is going on here is the just sheer a lack of leadership. I mean, McConnell himself, there have been moments, and you have seen these on air, where McConnell has just frozen. He's gone to a platform, started speaking, and just stopped. Just frozen completely. So there's a lot of stuff, people saying, well, hold on, who replaces McConnell? And remember, this is the exact same question that has plagued us here when we've changed prime ministers several times in the recent past years. Who do we replace them with? I don't necessarily think that McConnell has almost a dedicated successor, because it has been sort of the opinion of someone so strong and the ability to be able to sort of, herd the cats, shall we say, on this, to be able to do such a good job. No one's even thought about, well, how do we replace him should the worst happen, or he retires, or so his leadership is being questioned. And as it said there, when it's even being questioned by his own allies, well, that's the big problem. And then Mike Johnson. You may remember the whole chaos they had about trying to elect a new speaker. And now Mike Johnson is in here saying that, he was going to do this leadership, that he was going to be able to lead all this stuff. He can't lead them any better. So this really is a problem. And we still do not know at this moment in time whether this Ukrainian aid is going to pass. I really hope it does. If it has passed between now and me doing this video, amazing, excellent, good job, guys. It's very, very much needed for Ukraine at this moment. But as I said, the big problem here, and the thing that should ultimately the Democrats should be going after Trump for, is the idea that he is prepared to let Putin take Ukraine and win in this conflict to, I don't know, prove a point. Yeah. As I said before, I really do hope that Donald Trump doesn't win, but I'll tell you now, if he does win, we are probably going to see a following government definitely, should we say, cozy up a lot more to Europe than we previously had done, which again sort of undermines the whole argument for Brexit as well. But there you go. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.